Good afternoon, all. You are all welcome to this webinar. We'll try as much as possible to keep it very brief and keep it straight to the point for all to understand what we are here for. My name is David Emumena, and I'm the host of this webinar. I'm the Managing Director for PM for Success, while our guest speaker for this webinar is Mrs. Tobori. She's the CEO of Tobori Consulting. So she's a financial expert. She's going to talk to us about all that we need to know about our finances, how we can to plan our finances effectively, manage our finances effectively, and at the end of the day, all the lessons that we're going to be learning from this webinar, if we put them to use, it will help our lives to become more better. So I encourage you to pick your paper and biro to close to yourself so that whatever you're going to learn, you can put it to use. So I think at this point, we already have about 8 participants online right now. But we're expecting more people to join, but because we keep to time, there's no Nigeria African time here. We'll start almost immediately. So at this point, I will welcome Mrs. Tobori to take over this webinar. Thank you all. If you want to say something, rules of the engagement, you have, you can raise up your hand. I'm seeing AK Solomon. AK Solomon, please, can you say what you want to say? I can see your hand raised up.
Sorry, I don't, not yet, I'm sorry.
Okay, so,
sorry.
So please, if you want to say something, kindly raise up your hand.
Okay, then how do I take off my hand if I don't want to say anything?
Yeah, the same way you
I went here.
Yes,
all right.
The same way you click on it and to take it off.
All right.
But to lower your hand. So at this junction, I'll hand over you guys to my friend and my financial expert. Somebody, over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, David. Good afternoon, everyone. I do hope everyone can hear me. Please, if you can hear, I'd love if you can respond, just to be sure that I am on the same page with you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, fantastic.
I can hear you.
Fantastic. That's the challenge with the online transaction. You need
yes, we can hear you from Bayelsa.
Oh, awesome. You need to keep reconfirming that everyone is on the same page. If not, you might be talking to yourself. Fantastic. Thank you so much for, nowadays I thank people threefold. I thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, and thank you for your data that you are spending to listen to me this afternoon. I sincerely appreciate it. I'm hoping we will be able to do this in 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I doubt if it will go beyond 45 minutes because this is supposed to be a tip class. We'll share some tips. We will introduce some subjects or some topics in preparation for the main class, which will come up at the end of the month. But if you pay attention in this class, you will be fine. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about personal financial planning. And the way the world is today, if you do not have a financial plan in place, I am very worried. It means you are going to struggle. If you are struggling already, the struggle is going to be worse and it will intensify as the years go by. For those of us who are very observant, who have understanding of the times, you will notice that the times are changing. In fact, the times have changed. For those of us who were born in the 70s or the 60s or the 80s, you are privileged to see different eras evolving in front of you. And it's going to get worse in the next 10 to 15 years. So if you are observant again, you will know that what used to be in vogue before is no longer in vogue. When you are born, you go to school, you get some form of intelligence quotient, you get a good job, you're well paid, or at least decently paid, you retire, and you have peace of mind and take care of your grandchildren, go around doing omugo. That era is gone. We are in the era where things are changing very rapidly and drastically as well. Meaning, therefore, that even the nature of our money is changing. In the past, you are fine if you have a house you can live in and 1 or 2 to rent, you are good. But nowadays, if you are in that bucket of people who say, I am fine, my retirement is good because I have 1 house in the village and 1 in township. Please, if you're in this class, just get ready to what's the word I'm going to use now? To reformat the way you think. The world is changing, our money is also changing. Personal financial planning is critical now. You cannot say it's not important or it's not urgent. No, right now it's extremely urgent, it's extremely important. But then again, what exactly is this whole personal financial planning thing that we keep talking about? What does it mean? Unfortunately for those of us in Nigeria, in fact, first of all, unfortunately for us in Africa, it's not a particularly well-known subject. We are not, Nigerians hardly talk about financial planning. And when you go to the bankers or the investment houses to explain to you what financial planning is about, they will just talk to you about investment. And investment is not equal to financial planning. They are 2 different things. In fact, investment is a subset of your personal financial plan. So what exactly is a personal financial plan and what does it entail? As a financial planner, when a client comes to me to start the financial planning journey, there's something we call a pre-evaluation form. That form has a series of questions. When you answer those questions, it puts you in a position that tells you where you are at the moment. Then from there, we'll go into a financial plan, which means what really? It means we look at what you want to achieve in your life, this life you have come to. Why are you here? What do you want? We all agree that we are in life in pursuit of happiness. That's why we are here. But what are the things that will make you happy? For instance, the things that will make David happy are totally different from the things that will make me happy. Therefore, David's financial plan will be different from mine. What will make me happy will be significantly different from what will make my husband happy. Therefore, my husband's financial plan will be different from mine, and so on and so forth. What this means is that your financial plan is specific to you, is unique to you. There may be similarities, especially in age brackets and when it comes to demographics generally. There will be similarities, but everyone has a distinct financial plan. And so you must settle down and set one up. So what exactly would be the content of a typical financial plan? Because financial planning is pretty new in Nigeria, we thank God for the South Africans who have redeemed us again by being more aware. A typical South African who is of the middle class has a financial plan in place. Meanwhile, even the elites in Nigeria, very few, very, very, very few. I've run financial plans for hundreds of people. I've only met 1 man in Nigeria, one, you can imagine, out of the hundreds, who had a financial plan as a document in place. But guess what? He set up his financial plan when he was 16 years old in Scotland. The man is 66, so okay, he should be like 67 now. Meaning, therefore, that it wasn't even because he is in Nigeria that he had a financial plan. No, he had set it up when he was a teenager long ago. And again, because he was privileged to be born in Europe. What does that tell you? It tells you that in Nigeria in particular, we're in crisis. And this is why we suffer the way we suffer. Our parents have a lot of money, our grandparents have a lot of money, but we the children, we don't have money. So our parents have money, they die, and the children start afresh. Our grandparents have money, they die, our parents have, they die, and so on and so forth. So you see that you don't have a platform to start from. We are all struggling afresh. And it's part of why, as a society, Nigerians are struggling. I am on a mission to ensure that that doesn't happen. I was saying that South Africa has redeemed us. In Africa, very few people know what financial planning is all about. And I am on a mission to ensure that that bad name is eradicated. So what exactly? First, please pardon me, I have a horrible cold. So you may struggle to hear me. I may sound a bit nasal, but please pardon me. Okay. So what exactly will be the contents of a decent financial plan? Again, I am going to say this, that this class is just going to be full of tips. I'm just going to be dropping a few tips here and there. There's no way we can exhaust the topic financial planning in 1 day. How much less 30 minutes? No. So I'm going to just be giving you tips. If you have a book or a piece of paper and a writing material. Please go ahead and take note of this. To make this easy, I came up with an acronym, CRIERS, C-R-I-E-R-S. I came up with this acronym to help Nigerians remember the components of a financial plan, at least their personal financial plan. Which
Please, sorry.
Okay,
Can you come up with the word again? CRIERS.
Yes, C-R-I-E-R-S, like a town crier.
Okay.
We'll go into details.
Okay.
Thank you, Kanem. Okay, so I came up with that word because I wanted something that Nigerians will remember easily when they're trying to set up their financial plans themselves. Even though you cannot really set up your plan yourself, you actually need a professional. But let's assume you cannot afford one and you want to at least start something on the right path, which is why we're having this tip class today. Your financial plan should contain at least 5 of these elements of the CRIERS, which are 6 in number. In fact, the real plan, a really robust plan, will have 7 of the elements. But I left the T for taxation. I left it out because it doesn't really affect us in this part of the world. So what does the acronym CRIERS mean? What do those alphabets mean? C stands for children's education. R stands for risk. I stands for investment. E stands for estate. The second R stands for retirement. And the last letter, the S, stands for streams of income. Let's start with the C. Again, I'm going to try to rush through this. I do hope it makes sense. What does the C mean? C means children's education. If you are in Nigeria, in fact, if you're in this world, it's not just Nigeria. If you're in this world and you have children and they have started attending school, you would have realized something by now. That you are going to spend a large portion of your income training your children. It's a fact. So you are going to earn money and divide the money maybe into 3 or into 4, depending on the quality of education you want to give to your children. As much as 1/4 of it can go to children's education if you are not careful. If you are in a rented apartment, you'll find out that as much as another 1/4 will go to paying rent. As much as 1/3 of that salary will go to feeding and lifestyle. Very rarely will you have up to 1/4 of your income available for long-term investments. But today we're not going to talk about all of those in detail. We're not going to look at budgeting, which is another aspect. In fact, if you sit with your planner, budgeting is the base. Budgeting is the basis, is the foundation of a personal financial plan. But let's talk about the C, children's education. How much does it cost you to train your child? For many people, I'll tell you the pattern of paying school fees. September, okay, so share another September is coming. We are all relaxed because we thought COVID was not going to go away. COVID is going, by God's grace, it's going to go eventually, one way or the other. And the way things are, schools will probably reopen in September. So let's assume schools reopen in September. 90% of Nigerians, at least the ones I have met, and believe me, I've met quite a number of them in my over 17 years career. They will wait. August is holiday, they will go and groove. Some will travel abroad, some will just generally share relaxed and think that they're on holidays. Then September will come and they'll start shouting because principal said, or proprietor said, bring 1 or 2 small thousand here and there to pay school fees. And they're all upset, as if they didn't know that September will come. So come September, you see parents running helter-skelter, trying to put funds together for children to go back to school. Typically in September, you're going to buy new books, you're going to buy new uniforms, and if your kids are young, they want school bags, they'll want this, they'll want that, and so on and so forth. September school fees is usually well. So let us assume that you are in the middle class. No, let's say you're average middle class, and the school fees for your child is 100,000 naira per term. You will find out that in September, you will not pay 100,000. You'll probably be paying 140 or 150. Second term will come. That's January, right? They will go and do Christmas. They'll do end of year party. They'll do every. Then when January comes around, they'll be waiting for upfront at the end of January to pay school fees that was due beginning of January. Why? Because there's no plan in place. So you see them, they keep scrambling to be able to pay fees. And I am saying to you today that ought not to be. Then, of course, by April, that's for foregone conclusion, they will just manage and pay the third term fee. They keep doing this over and over again. That's the typical cycle of a Nigerian paying school fees. A children's education plan says that is wrong. You are supposed to set aside the fees for your child throughout the course of the education every month if you earn monthly, or every quarter if you earn quarterly, depending on how you assign the funds. So let's assume you earn monthly, and the cost of educating your child, again, we don't have enough time to go into details, but let's assume that the cost of educating your child in the course of the child's entire school life, which is about 22 years, plus or minus. So let's say in 22 years, it's going to cost you 22 million naira to educate that child. And by the way, if you don't know how much you are going to spend training your child, you better go and calculate it now. It will cost you about 22 million if you're in the middle class. What that tells you is that every year you need to put aside 1 million naira for that child's education. And by the time you're talking 1 million naira, you're speaking 1 million naira English. What is that telling you already? That you are going to be putting aside almost 90,000 naira every month to train a child. If you do not put the 90,000 aside today, you are going to struggle when the child gets, to the university level. So when you put a proper financial plan in place, a children's education plan in place, you will not struggle. As the school fees fall due, you pay. And guess what? Where the funds are, begin to work out some form of returns such that inflation will not be an issue for you. In fact, for many clients who have a structured financial plan in place, that have a robust children's education plan in place, the fund itself generates at least one term school fees every year. So not only are you meeting your goals as a fund, you're also making money from the fund. So a typical financial plan will have a children's education plan in place. That is the C. What is the first R, which is the first R in the acronym CRIES? R is a risk plan. A risk plan says, look, I want to achieve these goals, these many goals. And by the way, when you sit down, you'll have the goals in place. I want to buy a car. I want to have a house. I want to renovate. I want to put something in place for my parents. I want to expand my business. I want to do and all of that. I want to go on a vacation every 3 years. I want to get married. I want to have a new wife. I want to change my wardrobe. I want to change my husband. Whatever your goals are, you will have them documented, right? Those goals will cost you something. The goals will cost you money, they'll cost you time, they'll cost you youth, they'll cost you something. Now, a risk plan says, what do you have that you cannot lose? These children you have, you want them to go to school, right? Fantastic. So what's going to drive that goal? What's going to fund it? You need to earn money to fund it. How are you going to earn? You need to be alive, you need to be well. You need to have a source of revenue. Now the risk plan says, what if you are not alive? Can your children still go to school? What if you are not alive? Can your father's house still be renovated? What if you're not alive? Can your father still be buried? Those are the questions the risk plan says. And if the answer to this is no, oh, if I'm not alive, my child will not go to school, will not continue along this line that I have already started, then you need to set a risk plan in place. And what does a risk plan do? A risk plan says, okay, even if I'm not here, this goal will be met. A risk plan also says, I have all of these assets that I have spent so much money setting up. A risk plan says, if I lose this building that took me 5 years to build, to fire or to burglary or to whatever it is that can destroy a building, what would I have lost in reality? Would I have lost the value of the assets some years ago? I would have lost the value today. Then the risk plan says we need to hedge against those losses. So the risk plan says you must put something in place to hedge against the loss of income, loss of life, loss of health, loss of assets, etc., etc. It's a very robust plan. Guess what? Nigerians don't do risk plan. In fact, it's not in our nature. We are all in the, God forbid, it's not my portion school of thought, which is a joke, because you better get your risk plan in place. God doesn't forbid anything. He allows it to happen. In fact, why he has sent me to you is so that you will not say he forbids it. He's telling you upfront that it might happen. Or prepare. Don't even involve him when it's done. So that's a risk plan. I hope I'm not talking too fast. I'm just trying to catch up before the time is up. So the R is we're done with the C, we're done with the R. The next is what? The I. I is where most of us pretend to be. Investment plan. Nigerians will tell you they do investment. Hi, we're investors. Ask them what they are investing. A man is earning 100,000 naira. He's putting aside 10,000 naira every month. He'll tell you his investment. Ogbeni, you're not investing. I don't know what you're doing, but you're not investing. If that 10,000 naira is in a place where it's not making money for you, it's depreciating in value, I don't know what you're doing, but that's not investment. You're just saving money. And before I forget, let me just drop this. If you don't take anything away from this class today, please take away this quote from me, that never should you save for the rainy day. Do not save for the rainy day. It is the worst mistake you can make. Okay, we will argue that out when we have time. Saving for the rainy day is what has put many of us in the mess we are now. Do not save for the rainy day, save for a targeted purpose. If you're putting 10,000 naira aside every month, why are you putting it aside every month? You need to know why. You need to know what kind of investment vehicle best suits that purpose. You cannot tell me that you're paying children's school fees. I hope there are no bankers on this call because they'll come after me, but that's not doing it. I don't care right now. I need to tell you what's up. You're putting 10,000 naira aside every month in a savings account, and you have an ATM card on that savings account. You are not saving. Because when you withdraw more than 3 times from that account, you forfeit your interest. And the interest we're talking about, Seth, how much is it? We don't have time. Don't worry, we will have time. At the end of this month, we'll finish the topic of savings. I will tell you the different products. I'll tell you what the interest rates are, and I'll tell you exactly what you're forfeiting, how much you are losing when you keep monies sleeping in savings accounts. Does that therefore mean savings accounts are not good? They are fantastic, but for certain purposes. Certainly not for investment. A savings is not an investment. You can build up in a savings account to invest later, but there are many investment opportunities. Nigerians just don't want to play in the investment space. The same people who are already millionaires are the same people investing. They're the same people getting wealthier. Anyway, that's another topic. So that's your investment. Investment is saying, look, I have so and so X units of funds. How do I put these funds in such a bucket that the risk is high, but the risk is mitigated? The risk is low, and that risk is also worth it. So your portfolio is mixed, your portfolio is balanced. So when people are speaking and shouting inflation is doing one thing, it doesn't concern you. Oh, dollar is one thing, it doesn't affect you, because you have a balanced portfolio. Investment is saying how diverse and how diversified is your portfolio. Are you matching your costs to your assets? What do you own? What do you owe? How do you match them? I'm going to pay school fees per quarter. Do I have an investment that returns value to me every quarter? Those are the kinds of questions you ask when you set up an investment plan. The investment plan also says, how are my assets sweating? You have so many assets. The biggest asset you have is your time, your life, your youth, your connections, your network. What are they doing? What are you doing with them? You have a phone full of 500 people. And so how are you making money from that huge social capital? What are you doing with it? That's what an investment plan asks. The investment plan also says you have a car, you bought a car, 16 million, you drive it to work, you park it. And at the end of 4 years, that car is fully depreciated to all intents and purposes. Meaning therefore that you wasted 4 million per annum. That is your child's school fees for like 4 years. And you waste it in 1 year. Wasting is in quotes. Yes, but it's an asset. Is it sweating enough? Did you really need to get a car? And even if you could afford it, did you need to have it? Now you own it. What else are you doing with that car? What's the car doing for you? How else is the car strategically positioned to ensure you increase your revenue? Those are the questions your investment plan will be asking you. The investment plan is also saying you are young, you are in your 20s, you're in your 40s, and you're sleeping at 8 p.m. Are you joking? What are you doing with the brain? All of this information, you've worked somewhere for 10 years, you've worked somewhere for 15 years, you have huge intellectual assets. What are you doing with it? How are you making money with it? Anyway, those are the conversations you have in the investment plans, the investment plan space. The next alphabet we have is the E. The E is the estate plan. And this is where Nigerians, you know what, we don't even bother here. We probably just pray it away, wish it away, hope it away, faith it away. We just say, oh, you know what, I'm not going to die, hallelujah. And I'm like, hey, amen. You'll not die, you will live forever. Clap for yourself. You will die, that is given. Once you are born, you will die. And I love to quote Julius Caesar, who said, "It seems to me most strange that man should fear, seeing that death, a necessary end, will come when it will come." Death will come. So why are you afraid? Because you have not planned. Why have you not planned? Because you're afraid. I don't know which will cause festive. An estate plan says you need to stop all of that rubbish and get to work, putting your estate in place. You have spent 30 years, 20 years, 15 years, 40 years acquiring stuff. You have acquired children, you've acquired buildings, you've acquired assets, you own websites, you own intellectual property, you own cars, you own wigs, shoes, gele. You've been working, you've been owning. Who will own these things when you are no longer here? And don't tell me it doesn't matter, it matters. It's your estate. Even if you don't want to use it, will it out properly to people who need it. And an estate plan is not just about a will. An estate is saying everything I own, everything I wish, everything I want to happen if I'm not here to take those decisions should be documented. So it will have a will in place, you have a trust in place, you have powers of attorney in place, you have all kinds of trust, all manners of trust. You have simple instructions that accompany your will. You have your passwords, your sign-on, your email, and all of those details, you have them properly documented and secure, such that when you die, the people that call, when they are crying, the only cry they are crying is, "Oh, he lived such a good life, and she has gone to join her maker. Oh, what a great man. Oh, what a fantastic woman. We will miss her, but she's gone to a better place." The cry has dignity. It's not, "Hey, hey, hey, hey," not all those cry of. Inside the cry, you know that they are crying because you did not pay school fees and you've died. You did not build a house, you've died. You are owing people, you've died. You should not die. That's what the cry is. So an estate plan ensures that all of those negatives that are surrounded with death are done away with. An estate plan also says, look, my death should not be a burden when I go. So for example, I have an estate plan in place. God forbid I pass on today, my husband will not struggle to bury me. We have agreed on the nature of my funeral. If he decides to do anything outside of that, he can bear that cost. But I will not die and leave a debt, DEBT. I will not leave a debt for them because of my death, no. An estate plan says no, you put it in order so that your children or those who are coming after you will not inherit load. And you will give them a platform to continue from. That is how inheritance is built. That is how wealth, generational wealth is created. An estate plan ensures that generations build on one another and things are properly done. We don't have the time to look at culture, what you can will and what you cannot will. We will deal with that properly when we meet at the end of the month. At the end of the month, when we meet in the robust financial class, which is going to hold for 2 days, we will finish work on this thing called estate plan. We need to look at it. I am always in the probate court, always. And what I see there breaks my heart. We really need as Nigerians to stop this nonsense. I'll also share some of my testimonies with you on the kinds of mistakes Nigerians are still making, thinking that they have an estate plan in place. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have looked at C, we've looked at R, we've looked at I, we have looked at E. We have about 12 minutes more. Let's see if we can do the remaining alphabets. There's a second R, the retirement plan. You see, when it comes to financial plan, there are many things you can do without. You can say, you know what, I'm not going to set up a children's education plan. I couldn't be bothered. If they like, when I die, they can go to school or not. I don't care. You can say you will not do a risk plan. Like you don't care what happens. If loss comes, anything that happens, if I perish, I perish. That's fine. You can say you're not going to do an investment plan. After all, how many people are going to do an investment plan? That's fine. You can say you will not do an estate plan. If they like, they should scatter the family when I'm gone, they consign them. That's fine. But you see, retirement, you must do it. Because guess what? Every one of us will grow old. Every one of us, if we do not die young. And many of you as Nigerians, people like to pray that you want to live to 100, 120. I keep hearing those prayers and I'm like, if you're among those people praying to live to 100 and 120, I want you to do a simple calculation now. I suspect you have a piece of paper, so fantastic. Do a simple calculation. How much do you think you will need to spend every month when you retire? If we assume you're going to retire today, you retire today, you turn 60 today, and you are retired. How much do you think you will spend every month? Let me give you a guide. When you grow older, your doctors are going to come together and gang up against you. They'll tell you you cannot eat red meat, you cannot eat fatty meat, you cannot eat this. In fact, you should not even eat meat, full stop. You should eat fish, but remove the skin from the fish. Don't eat anything that has color. Don't eat anything that is sweet. So you'll be steaming your fish and you'll be steaming with vegetables, broccoli, lettuce, and cabbage. While you are calculating, please answer, how much cabbage will you eat to belly full? Then they will tell you you must take supplements because as you grow older. For instance, my mom is hypertensive. My mother's hypertensive drugs cost us 15,000 naira every month on just medication. And she has to take it because her life has been saved by being on her Vasoprene. That doesn't mean she eats healthy. Of course, she will do all those turmeric and ginger. Those ones are steady. But she also needs to supplement. Long and short, if you don't have 200,000 naira every month, you go worry. That means your retirement will also be hard work. You suffer there as a youth, you want to suffer in old age. Anyway, just answer. So let's assume you want to work with 200,000 naira because it's you and your sugar pie that will be alive. But if it's only you, if you're a man, you will still have a sugar pie. If you're a woman, you can stay alone. So let's assume you are your sugar pie alive and you want to manage 200,000. Which does not cover fuel. Now, okay, man, can you please mute? Okay, man, we will argue at the end of the month. You know the answer already, you know.
Yes, I do.
Already. Is it Academy who is speaking or Nado?
Nado.
Okay, Nado, you know the answer. You know what's up.
I know.
Okay, so let's assume you can cope with 200,000 naira. And by the way, if you are doing 200,000 naira a month, it means you cannot travel for vacation. That doesn't cover vacation. Okay, so that's subsistent living. 200,000 times 12, if my mathematics is correct, that's 2.4 million. Is my math correct? Yes. Let's assume you want to die at 90, age 90, meaning that you are going to spend 30 years in retirement. 2.4 times 30. You should be having something around 72 million, Abby? Okay. This question is telling you, you must have 72 million naira for you to have a decent retirement. If you don't have 72 million naira, and it's not looking like you have 72 million naira when you turn 60, please go back and renegotiate with your creator and tell him that when you were praying to die at 90 years, it was a joke. That when you really want to die, based on how much you have gathered and how much you will gather, you want to die around that kind, 65, 64, or 70, based on what is in your retirement savings account. Retirement is the saddest place to be if you are not prepared for it. In fact, the reason why I quit my job last year to do this is because of retirement. I used to be in the bank and I worked with so many people who gave 35 years to their employers, 30 years, 25, whatever number of years, and they're retired and they're living lives of penury. They're living as if they never saw money in their lives. But that's because they didn't prepare for the evening. May our evening not be worse than our morning. But for that answer, for that amen to make sense, you need to be prepared for it. So the question is, how much are you putting aside for your retirement? A retirement plan has to be robust enough to answer this question and say, oh, look, I need to put this aside every month. I must do this, I must do this. We will answer a lot of those questions and choose the best instruments for retirement. Okay, so the retirement is the second R. The last alphabet is S. And this is where we are. It is the reality that has caught up with us today. The last S is for streams of income. When you look at your statement of accounts, because right now everybody receives money via statements, I suspect, or via their accounts. When you look at that statement of account, what does it look like? Does your statement look like one entry? Exit, 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 exit. Inflow, outflow, 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 up to 100 outflows, but only one inflow. Is that the kind of statement you have? Do your inflows come from only one source or two sources? You're at risk. this current reality, the world, the way it is now, will not pardon you. The time has come to wake up. I am not part of those who say salary is not good. Salary is good. If your salary is big enough to behave like what salary should do. But if your salary is the type that struggles, then you must help yourself. If your salary can help you meet all your goals, and I'm still looking for someone who can do that, even those who have businesses can barely meet their goals. But if your salary can meet your goals, fantastic. Just set up the plan. But know that you must hedge against the risk of loss of salary. Nobody survives on only salary. It is not right. It's not good. It's not acceptable. So what do? You must set up streams of income. But what if you are working? What can you do? Because you're at work. That means your money and your other assets must work for you. If you are a man, you wake up at 5 o'clock, you get to work at 7:30, you close at 6, you are back home at 8:30, you sleep at 10 o'clock, you're on your own. When you get home, your second work should start. Yes, I said so. You cannot sleep. The time to sleep has not yet reached. A time is coming when you'll be sleeping from morning till night, you will run from sleep, but that time hasn't come. Go thou to the ant and consider her ways. I don't want to put the other words there. Consider her ways and be wise. There's no ant that rests. You can't rest because the time for rest is coming. You've not earned it yet. You need to work, but you need to work smart. I usually propose at least 5 streams of income. In Nigeria, if you're in Nigeria, you must have at least 5 streams of income to be able to survive, to be able to meet your goals. And believe me, when you sit down and set up a financial plan, you will be humbled. It is the most humbling of all experiences. I will wrap up by reminding us that your financial plan should have the C for children's education, the R for risk, the I for investment, the E for estate, the second R for retirement, and the S for streams of income. When you have all of these in place, then you will say to yourself, I have tried, I have a plan in place, and I will follow the plan. When you follow that plan, you will find out that you have peace that passeth all understanding. That is the only way. When you have the plan, to say no will be very easy because there won't be any feeling of wickedness. If you don't have, you don't have. Which brings me to what I'm going to use to summarize this class today. One of our biggest challenges in Africa is our inability to say no. We have so many people depending on us, so many people. And when you have a huge number of dependents or a large number of dependents or a large pool of dependents, you are at risk. You are as poor as your dependents. When you are the only one who is wealthy in the crowd, you are equally poor because they are going to drain you. And you won't blame them. They don't have any other source. A man who is the only one who is wealthy is like someone standing at the edge of a slippery pit and trying to drag people who are in the pit out. It's just a matter of time he will be dragged in as well. It's not enough that you are financially planned. Those around you must be too. Your spouses, your children, and all of those who are part of the reason why you are not prospering today, they must all be financially planned. You must be able to say no to them when you have not met your goals. But you cannot say no to them if you do not have a plan in place. When you have a plan in place, then you will realize you don't have money because the money will not be available to you to spend. Finally, I encourage you to join us in class at the end of this month. I think that's going to be on the 28th and 29th. I will spend 2 days finishing work, in quotes, on this topic. Hopefully, I would have done my bit of sending the message to Nineveh, for those who know the story of Jonah and Nineveh. I would have taken the message to Nineveh for those who want to be financially safe, to be. And that brings me to the end of our conversation today. It's supposed to be for 40 minutes, and this is 39 minutes, 30 seconds. I have done very well. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your attention. I don't know, David, if we can take a couple of questions.
Okay, so at least we've all had a wonderful session with Tobore, and I believe we all have a lot of wisdom in our minds that we want to ask. So we're going to be doing a Q&A session where we're going to be asking. So it will take like this is about 5 to 6 questions. Then we'll also take some comments.
Okay.
As well. So before we go, let me just quickly share a little story that I also think that we all have to learn from. A couple of years ago, Um, that was probably 2009, thereabout, yeah. So I haven't worked for organization for more than 5 years. I wake up one morning, I ask myself one simple question: what is the need for me in this organization that I'm working in? At the end of the month, I'm taking the salary, but the salary does not really define me because there is no satisfaction from the job. So 2009 precisely, I left the paid job, and 2010 started the first company. Now, from that point to this point, you can be able to tell yourself that a lot of things have changed. The reason is because one, you were able to understand that you need to move from the comfort zone where you belong to right now to a zone where you can be able to play and um, exercise your potentials. So, and that was what I did. And believe me, I can look back and say that decision was never a bad decision. And 2019, Sobori and I did a project together. Sometimes in I can't remember, but it's
September.
yes, September. It has to. We have to travel around the whole of Niger Delta from one state to another, trying to help people with disability to understand what how they can become better off, so that they will not be going to block the gates of NDDC and co. So one of the reasons why I'm sharing these stories with you is because I want you to look at your finances right now and ask yourself, where are you and what are you doing? And it will also shock you to know that Nigeria is about 200 something million plus, but our buying power is less than 40 million, meaning that businesses in this part of the world, in Nigeria precisely, when you bring a product, the market that can be able to buy this product is about 30 to 40 million. So that tells you need to think outside the box. And paid jobs are not something that you're going to live on, because definitely a lot of people have lost their jobs. Salary has been cut with over 50%. Some are not even receiving salaries. So that's also to tell you that you have to wear a taking cap. And that is what the financial planning class is going to be helping you to understand and see at the end of the class, you'll be able to know that, oh, this is what I should do. This way I can go to put my phone so that it becomes what? An asset to you. And I think in one of those classes I had with Tobori, personal classes there, she mentioned that when you build a house and the house is, you're just the only one staying in that house, it is not an asset, it's a liability. Reason being that you're just there, the house keeps taking money from you every month. But what we are looking at here is that at the end of these sessions, you should be able to define your activity and also understand your liability. So we'll start with the question and answer. We have about 22 people in attendance currently. So if you want to ask a question, please kindly raise up your hand. Then we will mute you, or you can as well unmute yourself so that we'll be able to hear what you want to say. So the floor is open to all of you. Okay, so before we go, Emeka has streams of income. Then somebody else actually, thank you. I think Emeka was asking for streams of income. I think you want to understand the streams of income. So, Barry, I think you should be able to show a light about it.
Okay, no, someone was asking what the last S was for, and Emeka was explaining that it was for streams of income. So,
okay. So let's get the questions. Who have questions? Ekane Solomon, you wanted to say something? Unmute yourself, please.
When you're talking about streams of income, can you please elaborate on that a little bit?
okay. Thank you very much. Streams of income simply means what and what brings money to you in the simplest of terms. How do you earn money? Where does your money come from? And we are saying that when only one rope ties you to a tree, it's easy for you to escape. But when you have many ropes tying you to that tree, it's almost impossible for you to escape. The rope is like yourself what is tying you to wealth. The tree represents wealth. If you have only one string tying you to that tree of wealth, you can easily be cut away from the tree. But when you have many ropes, many streams feeding you, it's almost impossible for you to be broke. I'll give you an example. Before now, those in the hospitality industry, those in oil and gas, were the big boys. But as we speak, 90% of the hospitality companies are either bankrupt or illiquid. Many of them are in dire straits. Why? Because of the coronavirus. So you can imagine someone, let's say a Richard Branson, for instance, the owner of Virgin. You can imagine if all of his investments were in hospitality. What do you think will happen to him today? He will be so dead. He will move from being one of the richest people in the world to being in deficit. And this can cause you to kill yourself. And we are saying, no, that shouldn't be. You must have multiple streams. So you'll be shocked that a Richard Branson, yes, what you see him to be is hospitality. But as a person, he has his investment in many places. He'll be in real estate, he'll be in IT solutions, he will diversify his portfolio in such a manner that no matter what happens in one industry, he will not be so badly affected that his goals will not be met. So that's basically what we're saying, that where does your money come from? What are the streams that feed you? What are the streams that feed your income? What are the streams that feed your wealth? It shouldn't be only one, because if anything impairs that stream or that flow, it can affect your goals and your pursuit of happiness. That's what we just mean by streams of income.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So more questions, please. Somebody is here to answer your questions. So at least in the next couple of 15 minutes before it's the hour 4 o'clock where this meeting will end, we are expecting people to ask questions and learn from the expert ourselves. Okay, so since maybe we don't have questions to ask. But for me, I usually ask a lot of questions, so, and I want to ask a question, which is she's laughing. You know, when we're planning all of this webinar stuff, we're trying to understand. We talked about the multiple streams of income, but the whole idea behind this program is not just you be financially free. We also adding value. So that at the end of the day, you as well, you can as well go to places, organize seminars, get people liberated from that poverty kind of thing, to become financially free. So, what are we expecting from the class that is coming up on the 28th and 29th? What are we expecting that is going to anybody that attend that class is going to turn their lives around?
Anybody who attends that class, it will be as if the person has done a financial plan. I typically will charge you 100,000 naira to set up your plan. 100,000 naira will give you access to me for 1 year, but you are entitled to 2 hours of a financial planning session. It's not cheap. And no, we don't used to price it, because when you start the work, you will know why. But when you attend that class, it will be as if you've done your financial plan. I plan to give you 24 hours of value. We will sit down, we will do a financial needs assessment, we'll do a self-evaluation, we will run through budgeting, we will look, and again, how many people are left? I see plenty. I wanted to give it as expo. I will tell you what you can do to make money. I used to be a banker. I've been branch manager. I've done a lot of banking stuff. I used to be a big girl in the bank, but I've moved on. How did I survive? Many people who quit their jobs are in dire straits. Many people, as we speak, are regretting that they quit their job, but I didn't regret. Why? The secrets, what I did, what I am still doing. How come I can still smile? How come I can work from home? I'm at home. My children are not going to school, but I am extremely relaxed. Why? I spend a lot of money on data. Why? How come I can still afford it? How people say the secret that is hidden in the, let me not say it on air, will be revealed on that day. Why?
Okay.
I'm going to give you tips. I will also tell you where you can put your money as we speak. I do not like to advertise for people, but if you're in that class, I will do adverts for you. And it also gives you access to me, meaning therefore, I will have your details, and as opportunities come, there are some opportunities you will never see. I was a banker for over 15 years. Some of the things I'm seeing now, bankers will never see them. Never, never, ever, because of the nature of the businesses. I will give you some of those hints. but it has to be for the people who are prepared to exchange value for value.
Okay, so another thing I want us to also get from here, because you are in this training, in this webinar today, originally the class, what we planned for those of you that have the privilege to see the flyer design for that class that is coming up for 28 and 29 is the original price for that class is $180, and we give a discount of 50%, which is about $90. But because you are in this class, we are giving you that class at $50. And $50 using the exchange rate today, that is about 23,750 naira. So if you are joining that